Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Bridging the Realm. I'm Desi Kadra, and today I'm going to be discussing why the new year never really feels like the new year and why seasonal planning and working with nature is a much better way of planning our New Year's resolutions, and it's a much better way of successfully meeting them. So, we are already in April, and I'm sure many of you are panicking and thinking, oh my gosh, we're already fourth month into the year, and I'm nowhere near my New Year's resolutions. Well, don't worry because we're in the same boat. I feel that many people actually experience the same issue, and there's definitely something very unnatural about starting the new year dead in the middle of winter. And I think that's probably why our New Year's resolutions never really work out because we start them against the natural currents of life. We start them against the natural current of nature. So I decided to look into this and really look into the history of the calendars and why the calendars are the way that they are, why we start the new year in the middle of winter, and where did they actually come from? Who created the first calendars, and what is the history of the calendar year? So, what I found was pretty interesting, and you want to stick around if you're feeling like you need a completely new system of reorganizing your yearly goals and planning for your life. So when we begin looking at the calendar system, it's important to first ask ourselves, why do we even need calendars? Why do we have them and why do we need them in the first place? So if you look at the history of the calendar systems and when they were first created, it's very evident that humans create calendars to keep track of time, to keep track of the seasons, to know when the seasons are changing, in order to know when different foods are coming in and leaving. When I started looking into this, I found what's believed to be one of the oldest calendars, which dates back to hunter-gatherer times, 8000 BC. It was found by British archaeology experts in Scotland, and they believe that this is the world's oldest calendar. Dr. Christopher Gaffney of the University of Bradford said that for prehistoric hunter-gatherer communities, knowing what food sources were available at different times of the year was crucial to their survival. These communities relied on hunting migrating animals, and the consequences of missing these events were potential starvation. They needed to carefully note the seasons and to be prepared for when that food resource passed through. So you can see that one of the first calendars ever created was created to follow the seasons, to know which season comes next in order to prepare for what food source is available. So it was purely instinctive. It was purely out of survival. It was purely for people to be able to keep track of time and the seasons in order to help them to find food. The Egyptians also developed a calendar system that followed the natural ebbs and flows of nature. For example, in 3000 BCE, one of their calendars that they created closely related to the yearly flooding of the Nile River. Also, they had a solar calendar based on the rising of Sirius, the brightest star in the sky. Some of the other traditions, for example, the Mesopotamian calendar, also follow the natural cycles, but they follow the natural cycles of the moon. When we go to the Celtic traditions, the Celtics also follow the natural cycles. The spring equinoxes, winter solstices come from these traditions where they celebrated these very special key moments in our year. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen people who gather at Stonehenge to celebrate spring equinox, the rising of the sun, the 20th of March, which we literally just passed. So you can see that all the ancient traditions followed this natural system, this natural cyclical calendar, just going with the energy of nature, and even the animals. Animals also followed the same cycle of nature, hibernating during the winter and starting to look for food again during the spring. So why is it that only humans have a calendar that doesn't follow that natural cycle? What happened and where did it all go wrong? When I began looking into the history of the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar that most of Western society uses today, I was pretty surprised to find that it was actually created during the Roman Empire. So the Romans understood how important an accurate calendar was for both agriculture and the government. In all of my research regarding calendars and the calendar system, this was the first time I came across the word government when it comes to calendar or the calendar system. So you can see there's already a huge shift starting to happen between the ancient cultures who used calendars originally for agriculture and for aligning with the seasons and knowing when to plant certain foods and when certain foods were in that season, to now we're going into the Roman Empire, who started to use time and calendars not only for agriculture but also for government control, taxes, and you know the rest. So it's pretty clear that here during the Roman Empire, this is when I guess the human ego started to really step in and wanted to start being in control of time, because essentially that's what happened. But a lot of the information that I found with regards to the Roman calendar was pretty confusing, pretty chaotic, because first started with being a 10-month calendar. So first it was only 10 months within the yearly calendar. However, after that, because of certain gods that were celebrated at the time, there were more months and more days added to the calendar, then some were taken away. Initially, the Roman Empire created a calendar to match the solar system, then the lunar system, and then it was just a whole mess of confusion until we got the current calendar that we are operating on right now. So this in itself, you guys can already see, it's just a very, very strange way of creating essentially time. And this is probably the pivot point from which our calendars went from mirroring nature to ones where it was mirroring more man-made system of control and essentially having a different agenda for time. So I'm not going to bore you with all the details in terms of the history of the calendar system. There are some videos out there on YouTube that explain this so much better than I ever can. And I would strongly suggest for you guys to research this for yourself. It's very interesting, and I think it's very important for us. If you think about it, we plan our whole lives based on the system. So if it's a system that doesn't really work well for us, then what's the point of using it? So let's look at some of the negative effects of using the Gregorian calendar system instead of the natural ancient calendar system. Well, for one, we're disconnected from ourselves on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. We are very disconnected with who we are, with what we want, with nature in general. And we've been further and further disconnecting from nature. And I think the Gregorian calendar and following this for, well, since Roman times has definitely contributed to this further disconnection from ourselves and from our natural habitat, from nature in general. We're also disconnected from our intuition. We're not in tune with our inner cycles, and that's reflected on the outside. And equally, the fact that we're not following the outer cycles is reflecting back to our inner world. So, what's the solution to this? What would be a good solution to have if we knew that our current calendar system is not working very well for us? What would be an alternative way of structuring our year? Well, we can maybe go back to the ancient ways of doing it. Maybe starting the new year, instead of starting it dead in the middle of winter, we can maybe start it, I don't know, in the spring equinox when the whole nature comes alive. I mean, is the only plausible explanation and solution to our problems. So a new system that we might want to look into if we're experiencing these kind of problems is seasonal planning, which means planning with the seasons. And I've been doing this for the past 2 years, and I've really implemented it this year properly. And I'm telling you, it's like your body just awakens. Your body just knows. If we actually start to listen to our inner dialogue, our inner guidance, and our energies within the body, you can tell your body starts to become more alive during the spring. When we're close and close to the spring, your body actually starts to come alive. You naturally want to do more things, and this is telling us that, again, the real new year starts with nature. The real new year starts with the spring, not with winter. So let's look at what each season represents. And of course, the spring, which is the real new year, the natural new year, spring represents rebirth, new ideas, planting new seeds, planting new beginnings, starting new things. So this is the natural energy flowing into everything new and letting go of the old. So the spring will be the best time to start our New Year's resolutions, planning for the new year, creating new things, starting new projects. That's where the energy, the creative energy really bursts, really starts to bloom. And this is the best way to use it if we actually work in tune with that cycle. Then we have summer. Summer represents full bloom, expansion, being social, being out there, putting your energy out and expanding outside of yourself. So this is, again, the natural energy flows towards us being out there, going out there, meeting people, socializing, putting projects out, collaborating. This is the natural energy flow for putting your energy out there, outside of yourself, and being out in our environment. Then we have autumn. Autumn is when we start to come back, bring the energy back to ourselves a little bit more. We start to reflect. We start to look at what needs to change, what maybe hasn't worked during the summer and the springtime, what we need to do differently. So the autumn is a great time to actually reflect, to change things, to do things differently. I'm sure if you think about this time of the year, a lot of you will probably be able to think of examples of when things start to really shift and sometimes feel very, very heavy. I've noticed this in my own life around October time. I've noticed that something not negative, but something kind of shocking tends to happen both in my life and in the world. So it's really interesting if you actually look at the patterns in your own lives and look at each month and what has happened in your life in each month. Say maybe in the last 3 years, you'll notice that there are definite patterns of these seasons really taking place within your own life and also outside of us, also with generally with the things that are happening outside in the world. Then finally, winter. Winter is supposed to be for rest, for calm, for being with yourself, bringing your energy back, reflecting, journaling, looking at how you can nourish yourself, how you can have more energy, re-engage with your own inner energy, and all of these things that you've been doing throughout the year during the summer, being sociable and putting projects out and being very fast-paced. This is when we go into the opposite side. This is when we're supposed to be slow and very intentional and very reflective and very calm and just balanced. I guess this is the time to regain your balance so that you can be ready for the next year ahead, which happens in the spring. So seasonal planning is one of the main ways in which we can reestablish our connection to nature, and through this be able to plan better for our year, be able to create goals that are more aligned with ourselves and also more aligned with the natural energies. So at the end of every year, I normally get together with my family. I go to see my sister, and we've created almost like a ritual for the last 3 years where every time we come together at the end of the year, we do a sort of a journaling session where together we answer questions about the year and what we achieved in the year, what were some of the challenges throughout the year. So we do a very in-depth reflection of everything that happened throughout our year. And then we'll write them down and we'll read them out loud to each other. And I found that this is such an amazing way of reflecting on your year and such an amazing way of just looking at everything that you achieved, everything that you learned, the ways in which you have learned new skills, you have changed, you have shifted, you have grown. It's such an incredible way of just taking stock of the whole year and looking at not only what you're proud of and what you're grateful for, but also helping you to create new goals and new desires for the next year to come. I found that this is one of the best ways to not only end the year, but also start the new year. And I really feel like this is something I want to now implement, not only at the end of the year and wait a whole year to do this, but why not do it at the end of every season? So that in case you have gone off track, or in case you have gotten something where, or gotten into something that you're not quite sure about, or you don't really think you want to be involved in this anymore, why not do this at the end of every season so that you can reflect and make the changes that are needed so that you can start the new season fresh? So for me, again, I've implemented this in my life for the last year, and it's just worked so well for me. It's just such an amazing way to reflect on the season and reflect on everything that has been working, everything that hasn't been working, and just checking out what needs to be changed so that I stay aligned with myself and with my values and my true goals. One of the best ways to do this type of reflection that I found really, really work are something that I call zoom out and zoom in questions. So zoom out questions will be the questions that look at the bigger picture of your life. There's also a name that I recently came across on a video. Someone called them 30,000 feet questions. And I love this name because it really gives you an image in your mind in this kind of bird's eye view picture of your life, and just looking at the bigger picture of your life and where you are right now within your life and within the cycle of your life. So these are questions such as, if this was a 5-year chapter in your life, what would the chapter be called? If we were here this time next year, what are we going to be celebrating? And again, these questions are just profound, because they really give you such an incredible view of your life, of where you are right now, and this big picture perspective that we really need in order to look at our lives and where we are within this certain moment, where we are standing right now within our lives, and also give us a good cue in terms of where we wish to go from here onwards. Then the zoom in questions come in, and the zoom in questions are the actual questions where we focus on specifics. So things like actual measurable goals that you want to reach, or specific in terms of maybe how much money you want to have by the end of the year. But again, zoom out and zoom in questions are so important, and this together gives you such an amazing, incredible view of your life and where you are right now and where you wish to go. The final step that I think really, really works in terms of realigning with yourself is to create a ritual out of these moments of reflection. So that means at the end of every season, on the spring equinox, or just before, you would literally book those few days in your calendar where you would plan to just sit with yourself and be in a reflectory mode, do something, or stay at home, do something that helps you to really be in this mode of reflection, of journaling, of looking at all of these very important questions that help to redirect you in this next phase of your life. If you're interested in implementing this new system into your own life, I've created a Realign guidebook which talks about all of these and so much more in such an easy to understand way, in such an easy to implement way. I've created actual systems that you can use, templates that you can use to reflect on every season, as well as questions for reflection, zoom out questions and zoom in questions that are very, very specific and very helpful in terms of helping you to really realign with your goals, realign with your path and what your soul focus is. So if you guys are interested in checking it out, you can download it or you can check it out from the link below. It literally costs the price of 2 coffees, and I'm telling you, it's going to make a huge difference to how you plan your year, a huge difference to how you plan your seasons, and to how you achieve your yearly goals. So if you're interested in implementing this, you can, of course, research it for yourself and implement all of the information, or you can also download my guide. It's a 50-page guide that has complete templates for each season, how to reflect, what to do for each season, and how to prepare for a successful year ahead. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment below if you have tried this before, or if you're trying it right now, and please let me know if any of these have worked for you. Again, I have done this for the last 2 years, and I have seen a huge shift in how I plan for the year and the way in which I'm able to achieve the goals I actually plan. And worry not, the new year has just begun, so you're not behind, you're just in time. And I wish you good luck for the new year. Take care. Bye.